All right, I call this meeting of the BZA to order. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that our first order of action this evening will be to elect a new chair.
Let's
do I
do
have
a
that right, Director Jones?
Let's do a roll call
Roll
first,
call
and then
first. Very good. Thank you. Please call the roll.
Scott Wagner,
Here.
Joanne Lawson,
Here.
and John Carpenter.
I'm here. Very good. So now I think we'll move on to electing a new board for this new term. Do I have any nominations for board chair?
I would like to nominate Scott Wagner as our chair.
We have a nomination. I second. And I'll turn it over to Commissioner Wagner as to whether you wish to accept the nomination.
Well, I should have been late, but having not been, I will accept. Thank you.
And shall we call the roll on a vote for chair? Please call the roll.
Joanne Lawson,
Yes.
John Carpenter.
Yes.
Scott Wagner.
Sure.
Well, congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
Shall we switch seats?
Why not?
Good luck with the internet.
Yeah, thank you. All right, that's what I get for being on time. All right, our next item of business is the election of a vice chairperson. Do I hear a nomination for that office?
Yes, I'd like to nominate John Carpenter.
Is there a second, or any other nominations? I'm sorry, any other nominations? Hearing none, we have John Carpenter, who has been nominated for vice chairman. If there's no further discussion, will the clerk?
Second.
Do we need a second for that as well? Okay, is there? We do? Okay. Well, you've made that motion, so I'll second that since that's what you did to me.
Very good.
And if there's no further discussion, will you please call the roll?
Joanne Lawson,
Yes.
Scott Wagner,
Yes.
John Carpenter.
Yes.
All right. With that being said, then we have an approval of minutes. Is there a motion to approve the September 26, 2023 minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from September 26th, 2023. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, will staff please call the roll?
John Carpenter,
Yes.
Joanne Lawson,
Yes.
Scott Wagner.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, the minutes have been approved. Our next item of business is our regular agenda, beginning with case, sorry, I'm just going to look over because that's not up. Starting with case number 24-101, BZA, staff report.
Yes, Chairman, would you like to swear folks in, or are you going to do that after the staff report?
Yes, let's go ahead and do that, just in case. I believe before the meeting started, everyone was told that if they wish to speak sometime this evening, that they would need to be sworn in, and we will try the mass swearing in, otherwise we may be here a little longer than you all would like to be. So whether or not you ultimately speak is immaterial at this point, but if you are interested in speaking at this time, would you please stand up and we'll go, Mr. Jones, do you do that swearing in? I do that swearing in. And is there a particular script that one has for that? This is what happens when you make me the chair. Okay, that'll work for tonight. Everyone, will you please raise your right hand? And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? You are now sworn in. Have a seat. And when we get to that point, you are welcome to speak. All right, staff report.
Yes, Chairman, we'd like to add the staff report as part of the official record. And so our first case is a unique case. It's a use variance, which means it would allow, if approved, a use on the subject property that normally is not allowed in that underlying zoning district. So I've got the property pulled up on the screen. It's highlighted in red. It is just a hair over 1 acre. It's currently zoned agricultural. You can see 69 Highway to the south. That's not going to work. To the south, which is where it has access. The property owner is currently using it, the accessory building, which you can see noted there, for an embroidery business. There are part-time employees that come and go from the site. There's order pickup on site, but there is no retail shop where you can come in and shop for the products on site. So planning and zoning staff became aware of this use from a complaint that was received from an adjacent neighbor. The complaint was not about the embroidery business. It was about the traffic that was being generated by the business, and specifically the traffic going down the adjacent property's driveway, because the property just to the, and I'll see if this will work this time. This property here has a conditional use permit for a daycare. So they have a private drive that serves as the access for that daycare, and they felt that was a safety issue, getting that additional traffic coming down with the kids being part of that daycare. So that's how planning and zoning became aware of it. So anytime we become aware of a use like that, part of our job is to research it, see if it's allowed. If it's not allowed, what are the options for the property owner? In the end, we want to find a way for the property owner to be able to use the property how they want. However, some of these uses can affect the adjacent properties. So the first thing we looked at was the use table, which is Chapter 6 of the Land Development Code. Basically, it has every use listed and every zoning district. An embroidery business is not listed in that use table. So when that specific use is not listed, the job of the director is to classify it with the next closest use. In this case, we classified it with retail sales and service convenience. Now that sounds kind of odd because they're not doing retail sales. But you can see I've got the definition pulled up there. And under typical uses for that definition, seamstresses, tailors, and shoe repair shops are included in that definition. That was by far the closest use that we could find in the use table. We met with the property owner, encourage them to look through that use table as well to see if we had made a mistake, but that's what we landed on. Now, that use is not allowed in the agricultural zoning district. It is allowed by a conditional use permit in C1, which is a commercial zoning. It's allowed by right in C2 and C3 and industrial zoning. Another option that we looked at was the home occupation code. So there are certain home occupations that are allowed by the Land Development Code. But in this case, there were 3 items that kept them from doing that home occupation. One were the employees that don't live on site, because it's designed to be a home occupation. 2 was the retail sales, and 3 was the size of the accessory building. They're using a larger portion of that accessory building than what's allowed, which I believe is 1,000 feet of square footage. So staff thought that it would be a cleaner route to go with a use variance, which is just one variance rather than multiple variances from the home occupation code. So with all of our variance cases, we talk about the criteria, because these are the specific criteria that the burden of proof is on the applicant to show that they have addressed these. So I know it gets kind of long, but I do want to go through these one by one, because these are a little bit different than a normal variance criteria. So the first one says it needs to arise from conditions that are unique to the subject property, not ordinarily found in the same zoning district, and not a result of the owner's intentional actions. Second criteria is the granting of the variance will not be contrary to the public interest or adversely affect the rights of adjacent property owners. Third one, which this is the unique one that's different than the normal variance criteria. The strict application of the provisions for which this variance is requested will constitute a practical difficulty upon the property owner, because the property cannot be used for an otherwise permitted use without coming into conflict with applicable site development standards. And then fourth criteria is not adversely affect the public health, safety, or general welfare, nor destroy the intent of the comprehensive plan. I want to show you the subject, kind of the surrounding area, just so you have a better idea of where this is located. So you see the little bouncing red dot there is the 1 acre that we're talking about. 69 Highway to the south. This is City of Mosby. We did reach out to, I believe it was Mosby and Prathersville, because the property's within 1.5 miles. We did not receive comments from those cities. All of this area in here is just ag zoning. So anything with color, like over here, would be would be residential zoning. So it's surrounded by a lot of ag zoning. Now, there is a industrial zoned lot right there on 69. That's the propane facility as you're going towards Excelsior Springs. And there is a commercial zone lot to the south and west. And I will say that in the current comp plan, 69 Highway is one of the areas that it does call for commercial development. Some additional information, that is a picture of the property. You can see this is the accessory building that's used for the embroidery business and the house there to the right. We have not received any additional complaints from that first complaint that we received. We did publish this case in the newspaper, posted a sign on site, and sent certified letters to property owners within 1,000 feet. In this case, that was only 10 letters. The applicant did submit a letter addressing the criteria, and then multiple letters of support that were part of that packet that was sent to the board members. Staff would be happy to answer any questions that you may have. The applicant is present as well, and those are the criteria, again, on the screen.
All right, thank you very much. Are there any questions of staff from the committee? No?
The only-
Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah, the only question I had, how long will you give them that variance for? Is it a year, is it longer?
Well, so the variance would be specifically for this property owner and would be as long as they own this property and have that use. Now,
Oh, great.
the board could put a condition limiting it if you chose to, but there would not be a time period unless you add that condition.
Oh, that's great. Good, that's all. Thanks.
All right, if there's no further questions, then if the applicant is here, please come forward and plead your case. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for being here and giving me a chance to speak. Just promise I won't take up too much of your time. Just a little history. My wife Jennifer started the business in 2005 as a stay-at-home mom to make extra money. I was full-time police officer for Kansas City. We've moved a couple times, and as the family grew and the business grew along with it, and it got kind of to the point where it blurred the lines between home and work. And so with a couple of our kids grown and out of the house, we were looking for a location that had a clear separation where we knew we were home, we didn't have to worry about work, but we still had a location for a business, which this property that you saw was fit that perfectly. Mama 3, the business is unique. As Mr. Jones stated, we don't have a retail space. Nobody comes there to shop just out of the blue. The vast majority of our customers never see the finished product before it's ready to be picked up. Email and phone handle 99% of our orders. There is a rare occasion when a customer has an item that they want to speak to somebody in person because it's something they want special care taken of and want to make sure it's done right. We like the size of our business. The business size allows it to be our primary income at this point, while still allowing us to support our adult kids as they encounter their first challenges. Our daughter just bought a home. We helped a little bit with that. The other two are either in college or probably looking at some higher education in the near future. And it allows us to support the families of our 3 incredible part-time employees. They make their own schedules. They have families at home. All 3, well, 2 of them still have kids that are either in high school or younger. And so it works out wonderful for them and us. The size of the business allows us to say yes to customers who only have one item. We can also do larger orders as well, obviously. But so many of those people with single items tell us that they can't find anywhere to go to get a single item done because a lot of the places locally have a minimum amount of orders that they want filled. So they're always happy when they find us, and we're glad. That's how we started in 2005, and we haven't stopped taking care of small orders. And of course, with us and our ability to handle smaller size orders, people don't feel lost with the big businesses that are always just trying to cram in as many orders as they can. So they get a little bit more personal touch with us. And with the shop literally 50 feet from our home, we can do same-day service. We don't mind if somebody has a crisis, walking that 50 feet in the evening to do something after hours or on the weekends. We had a gal come to us on a Saturday. Her sister had been pregnant and lost the baby, and they were going to have a little ceremony on Sunday, and she wanted to know if there was any way possible that we could do the blanket with some personal embroidery on it and have it done the same day. And obviously we said yes to that. But I think if we have a storefront somewhere in Liberty or Excelsior that we have to drive to and open up, I don't know that we say yes to something like that. So it's all those things that kind of make us unique. As far as the location, we have made 0 changes to the appearance of the property since we purchased it in November of 2022, and we have no plans to do so. Most of the people that come to our location comment about how they can't even tell that there is a business at the location. It's located on the main thoroughfare of Highway 69, near the propane business and our neighbors who have the preschool. And it's close to the commercial zoning, a little bit toward Liberty. It's nearly completely hidden from view from Highway 69 by a natural landscape buffer of trees and bushes. And the lighting at the location has been kept the same from the date of the purchase, and it's consistent with lighting on homes you'll find in an agricultural area. Since no changes have been made to the appearance of the property, it will definitely not interfere or become a nuisance to normal farming operations, which are directly located next to us. Operation of the business produces no noise, air, or light pollution. And we conduct no business outside of the walls of the accessory building. No hazardous materials are involved, and lighting is the same as when the property was purchased, as I previously stated. We have made changes since February. Our neighbor reached out to us about the same time that she reached out to the county. And it has been a high priority of ours to respect their privacy. With the work I did for 27 years in Kansas City, when I got home, I didn't want to be bothered. And so I think privacy is the most important thing you can have when you're at home. So what we immediately did was we set a goal to reduce the amount of vehicles who come to the location to pick up their items. We've incorporated more shipping, and we've done some personal delivery. Discontinued the option of allowing orders for groups to be picked up by each individual in the group. Now we require one person from whatever organization, whether it be a work group or a hospital, to come pick up all of the items, and they're responsible for distributing them away from the location. And since 99% of the orders are handled by email and phone, we give detailed instructions regarding the location of the business, and every email includes a small map with pictures as well as directions, and we always offer to send a pin to the location to folks who have an iPhone. It doesn't always work out, but we always try to do that. We've also added 3 discrete but noticeable signs, which some are already common on Highway 69, to help locate the business and avoid people going straight from the turnaround into our neighbor's driveway, which was the main problem. And then we've also replaced the mailbox, and is now a very bright pink to also use as kind of a landmark to locate our driveway. And that's pretty much the description of the business and what we've done since February. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your service as a police officer for Kansas City.
No
as
problem.
a former councilman there, I appreciate everything that you do in that
You're quite welcome.
in that jurisdiction. Any questions of the applicant?
The only thing I wanted to say was that I kind of watched after the whole thing started, and they do have a sign at their neighbor's property that you can read when you're coming up I come that way to work. so I see it every time I come by. It is there, and it says that it's their driveway is the next driveway. And then at their driveway, they have a sign, and very visible. You can see it, read it, no problems. So I think they've gone above and beyond in trying to accommodate everybody. Thank you so
We've
much for
actually
doing
added
that.
one more since then.
Pardon?
We've added one more since then,
Sure.
just to make it even more clear. And when the mowers mow it up, we just replace it. So, no problem.
Gotcha. Very good. Commissioner?
Thank you, yeah. Thanks for being here. Sounds like a great local business, and you said you've been operating since 2005.
Yes, sir.
And how long from that location?
The location we're at now, we purchased in November of 2022, so about a year and a half.
I see. Okay, so I saw a lot of letters in support. I know you have some folks here in support, and want to do everything we can to help your small business to keep going. We are required by the law, though, to consider only 4 criteria in this matter.
Okay.
You're familiar with them. You addressed them a bit in the letter, and you spoke to them, and Director Jones went over them. We're really not allowed to deviate from these 4 criteria in terms of establishing whether or not to move forward with allowing y'all to continue. I'm satisfied on B, C, and D. I think you've addressed those quite clearly. My one partial hang-up is just on A.
Okay.
I note in the letter, your response was that the property does not have any unique conditions other than being zoned ag. Now, as Director Jones mentioned, there are considerations about updating the comprehensive plan, which may move you all from ag into commercial at some point, maybe. That's sort of to be determined. But just help me on criteria A, if you could, just any kind of justification that we could utilize to meet A, which is you've got it, I think, before you. And it's on the screen. It's the top one on the screen as well.
And Chairman, do you mind if I add a comment while he looks at that?
Please, yeah.
Go right ahead.
Sorry, just the Vice Chairman. Apologies.
So I just want to make sure it's clear. So the current comp plan does still call for commercial in this area. So that would be, I would offer that as maybe a piece of that puzzle for it to become unique. I don't know that it meets the standard of being unique, but I think that can be used as a piece of that puzzle. Because the current plan does call for that. I think the initial thought of the updated plan, there was talk of still having 69B commercial oriented as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please feel free to respond to the question.
Yes, sir. I mean, along those lines, we had the same thing in there. The existence of the propane company nearby, as well as our neighbor having the preschool. We felt that, we brought a different business to the location, and that's kind of what made it unique without us having to change the property at all.
Thank you.
Sure. Any further questions from the committee? If not, unless there's anything you would like to add, sir?
Not at this time, no.
Okay, I appreciate you being here, appreciate your presentation. At this time, I will just ask if there's anyone from the public who wishes to speak on this matter. Please come forward. And please introduce yourself and tell us where you live.
Hi, I'm Carol Kilpatrick. I'm the owner of Lions Heart Preschool at 19414 Highway 69. We are the business right next to them, and we did have an issue with the traffic. What happened was I was almost hit in my vehicle. I had a staff member that was at risk of being hit outside, and we have a group child care home, so we have 20 children exiting and coming back and forth every day. So I 100% believe they should be able to have a small business and be able to do with their property with what they want. No issues with that whatsoever. My concern becomes the process that we've engaged in when we went through 3 county commissioner meetings to be able to find out what revisions need to be made. Very expensive revisions, but we were willing to do to get things done correctly. But one of those was a very limited signage. And they have made efforts to put signs up, and I really appreciate that. I think that has slowed the traffic down. I wasn't aware of any other additional extensions they had done to slow that traffic down, by limiting people that come. I think that's fantastic. We still have a problem that remains because their signs are temporary. And so I'm here to ask you tonight to find out what was going on, first of all, but also to allow them to really put some signs up so that it's not missed, because they can't, and no fault of their own, they can't control who is coming to pick up products, but we've had people race down a really long, I don't know how long, 800 feet that our driveway is. It's long. But it's one lane, and we've had some problems. And again, no fault of their own. The people that we've stopped and said, my husband's run after people because we watch who's coming on that property. We don't have a big, hey, we're a group home, preschool on purpose. We don't want anyone to know. I mean, other than who's coming there on purpose. We're off of Highway 69. We don't want any issues. The problem becomes when we see somebody that we don't know, it's a stranger, there's a problem, we're at risk. And so everybody springs into action to figure out who it is. When we've talked to some of the people, they just laugh. It's a big joke to them. I don't know what to do about that. I think we need to be able to allow them to do some substantial signs so that it's clearly marked. And we don't mind that it's in front of our house. I saw when they did it, I thought that was a great effort. So where we go from here, we got kids at risk.
Sure.
I mean, we allowed to put them there on that property, but I can't, as an owner and a director, allow them to be at risk just from, grabbing their backpack at the end of the day to get out of the parking lot. It's serious. I mean, I can't stop anybody. There's no speed limit. I can't stop somebody from racing. It looks like, just a nice, long, fun road, and they take off. So those have been the few times we've had that happen.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But a more substantial sign at their business
Yeah.
you feel would alleviate that issue.
Right, unless they object to that for some reason, maybe they don't want their home marked that way, but our concern is that it's a really delineated so that it's clear, hey, this is here and this is here, and so there's not that overlap, because right now there's that overlap, and it has slowed down quite a bit, which is, I applaud them for that. That was smart thinking, what can we do? Our neighbor that connects our property also on the other side also was having the same traffic. And it wasn't, we just talked about it one day and they said, I cannot take this anymore, and we're all gonna get the occasional package delivered to the wrong place by mistake. I'm not concerned about that.
No.
It's more, oh, you're not the t-shirt shop. We heard that so often. It was like, we can't keep doing this. We need help here.
Gotcha.
So we're here to tell you, we put children in the community right there on that property. Help us resolve it, help them resolve it. So if you do pass it, that they have the tools that they need to be able to get customers to come straight to them. Yeah.
Gotcha. Very good. Is there any questions of?
I do.
Yes, go right ahead.
So how many now, since they've made all of these changes about how they do the orders, the fact that they have put some signage up, how many people, say in a week, come down there improperly?
As Mr. Wool said, we reached out to them, and then we reached out to them right afterwards because it just kept going. And we were like, we're at a nuns. We don't know how to stop it. Besides somebody standing out there, I think it's slowed down a great deal. I don't know. Maybe my husband knows how many he.
Just a guesstimate.
There's probably. Okay, so it's hard for us to tell. It's an 800-foot driveway,
Sure.
and they turn around in the grass. Was one of the other kind of disrespectful things. It's grass, who cares? But for us, we have a couple of driveway alarms. We know when somebody's coming. So that they get down all the way to our property, that's been less. But the driveway alarm keeps going off, and so I'm not sure if that could be completely attributed to that. I definitely think it's less.
Do you
So the
think
signs
4 a
have
week?
helped.
Do you think 4 a week or 5 a week?
No, I don't think that many. I think
less
there's
than that.
every week. I think we have some type of a signaling going on. Again, it cannot be attributed just to their business because it could
Sure.
be lost delivery person or lost other person, and so I cannot say, they can't own all that. That's not the case.
Okay, and then the other thing would be when you get down to your daycare, Do you have a fenced-in area around for the kids to play in?
We do, oh
So
yeah.
it's pretty secure that,
Yes,
you
but
know-
they, not the park, whoops, I'm sorry, not the parking lot. They go from the school
Right,
doors
right.
out to the parking lot, and that's where the pickup time, our pickup time is kind of goes between 4 and 5 o'clock, and that's when their pickups of their products was happening, and so we were having a lot of overlap.
Yeah, yeah.
It's the only reason we said anything. It's just
So,
like, I
tell
can't
me-
keep them safe.
How many kids do you have in your daycare?
We have 20,
20 kids? Okay. And
It's a
what
group-
age, what
group-
ages are they?
0 through 5.
Okay, so they're just...
We're licensed through
And
7,
you have how
but-
many staff?
We have 3 staff members.
3 staff besides
Mm-hmm.
yourself and your husband? Okay. I was under the impression they had no staff but themselves. I thought that's what you had understood, that there was no staff other than themselves.
So, yeah, I don't remember that case has been long enough ago. I don't
Yeah.
remember the specifics. But the reason they had a different process that they went through. They went through the conditional use permit process.
Right.
Unfortunately, the Land Development Code doesn't allow the Wolves to go through a conditional use permit process. If I had that tool at my disposal, we'd be going down that route, but that use table just doesn't give that option. It doesn't fit as a home occupation. It's not allowed, they're not allowed to apply for a conditional use permit, so their only option is a variance. And that's why
Yeah.
we're here tonight.
Well, that might be an option. The only thing I would say, not being unkind in any way, but I look at it this way. They put their sign out for their business, and it says who they are. It's very visible. And I don't understand why the monkey jumps on their back, why you don't have a sign out that says, and I appreciate where you're coming from as far as safety and that kind of thing, but how many places in the county do you drive down rurally and you will see a sign that says, you know, children's daycare or whatever it might say? And so there are signs out there that says that. I feel that they've put a sign out. It's not a huge sign, and it is kind of like a campaign sign is what it amounts to. Okay, they put that at the drive. If that's not sufficient, then I feel like the responsibility lies with you to mark your business,
Okay.
and that's just my opinion. But you know, I understand they've done what they should do. Now I think that you should put your sign out, and that way you'll never, ever have any of their people come down that driveway, because they'll see, it's a daycare, I'm at the wrong one.
Just so that you know, I wish that was the case. We did put up private drive signs, private property, do not enter. We put those up. People drive right through them. So it's not that we haven't given an
Well,
effort.
they may have thought that was them, you know, there was nothing to indicate until they put a sign up and said, you know, but now that they put that sign up, you're saying maybe 4 cars a week? I mean, and you know when people are coming because of your driveway signal. I think that's great. You've got your kids fenced in, and you've got additional staff to watch them. I don't think they should have to put out more money to put up some big permanent sign out there on their property. If they want to do it on their own, that's their business. But I don't think that the monkey should be on their back to do that. It should be, this is a daycare, just say daycare, keep out, whatever. But that way they know they're at the wrong one. That's just my opinion.
Commissioner, any comments of our visitor here? No questions. Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Are there any more individuals who wish to speak regarding this case? Sir, come on forward. Please introduce yourself and where you live.
Bob Martin, we're one of the customers of the Wolves. My wife runs a brokerage, if you will, for embroidered and imprinted products, supporting largely the local school districts and sports teams, as do the Wolves. They've been very involved in the community. My letter has been submitted in support of this, so I won't expand much further on that. But I would like to suggest 2 things. One is that I've been out there about 4 times, so not very often, and I've never gotten it confused with any other driveways that are out there coming off of the highway, so I'm not sure how that can happen because I'm as directionally impaired as they come. And the other thing I would like to suggest, and I realize it's not strict to the exception to the rule because of the variance that was, the conditional variance that was allowed for the home code. But I would like to suggest that an exception has already been made, if not in the law itself, the spirit of the law. An exception has been made to the use variances for the, what I assumed is a state licensed daycare, and such that I would advocate that an exception be made for the Wolves and a variance be permitted.
Very good, thank you. Any questions? No? No, you're fine, you're fine. Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak on this case? Seeing none, we'll just bring it back to our discussion here. Mr. Jones, I don't know if you have anything to add based on what you have heard?
Not unless you have questions.
My only question is there anything that you've brought before us that would speak to the type of sign that would be either necessary or suggested with this particular case?
Well, so you could add a condition requiring a sign. I looked in the code real quick. A entrance sign is allowed in ag zoning, which the entrance sign would allow the name and the address of the business. And it has to be under a certain size. I think it was 32 square feet, which is way too big for this use. So I think that could be added as a condition if you chose to. And then kind of go back to what Commissioner Lawson said, and I don't know if there was confusion on my end or what, but the employees goes back to the home occupation. So if those certain businesses that are allowed in the code as a home occupation, they cannot have employees. So I don't know if that's where some of the confusion was or not, but those are my 2 thoughts.
Gotcha, thank you. I'll just mention to the earlier comment from Commissioner Lawson, I remember the old adage that good fences make good neighbors. Sometimes good signs make good neighbors as well. So my only comment will be to that particular issue that it seems that there's been an effort to create signage, but I also, if I understand correctly, it needs to be replaced often, or at least often enough where perhaps something more substantial perhaps may be in order. But with that, I will offer it up to the committee for discussion. Commissioner.
Just one question, Director Jones. Are there any property tax implications to what we're doing here today on this?
I have no idea how to answer that. That's not what I deal with, so I don't know. Okay, I don't know if the counselor has thoughts on that.
Property tax. I don't think it'll change how the assessor assesses the property.
Okay.
And to be honest, if it does change the assessment, it would change it to the detriment of the landowner, I would suggest. So
Okay. Yeah, I just want us
they would
to.
do it at a fair.
I would want it to be fair, so, and I don't want us to create an unfair playing field by what we're doing here.
Yeah, I think that accessory building probably could be assessed at the commercial rate if that's how it's used.
Potentially, and clearly that's an assessor question, how it would be assessed. But it would not be, we would not lose tax revenue, or it would not be to the benefit of the landowner. Could stay the same, or could potentially be the other way to that.
Thank you.
Any further discussion from the committee?
Seeing none, is there a motion for case number 24-101BZA? And I'm assuming, Mr. Jones, that motion should indicate either an approval or a denial?
Yes, sir.
I
Okay.
make a motion to approve case number 24-101 BZA. With box mark, yes.
Is there a second? A second. It has been moved and seconded to approve case number 24-101BZA with a box marked approval. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, will Mr. Jones, will you call the roll? I'm calling clerk, but you can not.
Joanne Lawson,
Yes.
John Carpenter,
Yes.
Scott Wagner.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, congratulations. The motion is approved Case number 24-102, BZA. Mr. Jones.
Yes, Chairman, I'd like to add this staff report as part of the official record. Let's find my paper. All righty. So this is a variance request to allow for more than 3 domesticated dogs on a property. Currently, the property is 3 acres, zoned residential rural, or R1, and has access from 139th Street. This property falls under the urban services tier of the 2008 comprehensive plan. This request for a variance came about from a neighbor complaint about the number of dogs the applicant has on their property. So with any of these complaints, we have our code enforcer come out and take a look at the property and deem whether that meets or goes against essentially the land development code. And in this case, that's what was determined. Staff met with the applicant and went over the options that they had. This in staff's opinion, and the applicant, that this would be the best route to go. So this is the section of the code that the applicant is requesting a variance from, section 151-6.2C1AI. This section of code details the number of domesticated companion animals you can have on your property. Specifically, it says companion animals are limited to 3 domesticated dogs and 4 domesticated cats, 6 months of age per household. Currently, the applicant has 8 dogs, and I do have the breeds listed here. There's 2 Rottweilers, 3 Labs, 2 Huskies, and 1 Cavalier King Charles Spaniel. This code was traced back to the where first reference was in the 2000 Land Development Code. And on the next slide here, we did research on local jurisdictions and what they allow for dogs in their respective municipalities. So for the first one, Clinton County does not have an ordinance in their unincorporated areas that limits the amount of dogs unless if it deals with the business or creates a nuisance. Jackson County is unique, and I have an asterisk next to that, next to the numbers there. So it ranges, it depends on the zoning in Jackson County. If it's a more rural area, the more dogs you can have, more dense, the less. Ray County is the same as us with 3. Platte County allows for 5. Liberty's 4. Smithville is 6. City of Kearney is 3, and the City of Excelsior is 4. So there's a little bit of variation in there. So with all of our variance requests, we look at our land development code variance approval criteria. So this is a criteria that's going to look a little bit different than the previous case we heard, because this is a non-use variance. The full criteria is attached to the staff report that we sent out, and what's on the screen right now are just summaries of each criteria. Each of these criteria must be met, and it's a burden of proof is on the applicant to show that this criteria has been met. Each first criteria states that requested variance arises from conditions that are unique to the property, not ordinarily found in the same zoning district, and not the result of the owner's intentional actions. Granting the variance will not be contrary to public interest or adversely affect the rights of adjacent property owners. It constitutes a practical difficulty upon the property owner and not affect the public health, safety, or general welfare, nor destroy the intent of the comprehensive plan. So this is the surrounding area, and that red square there is the subject parcel. The road that's running north to south there is Plattsburgh Road, so that property has frontage there. And you can kind of see a little bit more of our denser subdivisions. You can see Oak Ridge and Oak Brook in your bottom left of the screen, and then obviously the subdivision that the applicant is in. Staff has received calls with questions regarding this case, also with opposition and support, all leading up to this meeting. These are public notice requirements. we do with our variance cases includes publishing in a newspaper, posting a sign out on site, and sending letters to properties within 1,000 feet. In this case, we sent a total of 22. The applicant has provided additional information as well, which includes a letter addressing the variance criteria, which is a part of the staff report, pictures and a PowerPoint as well, which the applicant will show when they come up here. You do also have a few other handouts you should have had at your desk. We have one, I believe is a letter of support, and one's a letter of opposition. And we also have one, it was an exhibit created by our GIS technician that shows the distances of other residents in that general area from, that house distance from a neighbor's house, so forth. Let's see here. Staff would be happy to answer any questions the commissioners may have, and the applicant is present.
Very good, thank you. Any questions from Commissioner Carpenter?
Well, and let me know if this question's out of line or if you don't know the answer, or Director Jones. But do we have a history in the county of creating these variances on this issue? This is not a unique issue in terms of the number of pets one has. Is this an issue that's come before and been granted variance before?
In my almost 10 years, this is the first time I've had this specific request. And I think we left it in the staff report that if you approve this, depending on, you could do conditions like the previous case, but this would be one kind of similar to the pool code where we had the cover and the fence issue. This would be one that I would want to revisit in the land development code if you chose to grant the variance for this use. But to answer your question specifically, no, I'm not aware of us ever having this variance in front of the board.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. As I understand, the applicant is here. Please come on.
So, first of all, I want to thank everybody for, sorry, my name is Carlos Vargas. I live at 13212 Northeast 139th Street in Kearney, Missouri. We have lived there approximately 14 and a half years. It really pains me to have to do this, not because of the animals, but because of the history behind it. I'm going to speak on the variance, what I'm applying for, give you a little history of our kennel, why we came up with that kennel, and introduce you to what we consider our family members. I wasn't aware that we could not have this many animals on our property, like right off the bat. I have neighbors to the north of me that have acreage. I didn't realize there's different zonings. I didn't realize they were zoned agricultural. And then on the east side, they're zoned R1, which is what we're zoned, which is R1. On the south side, they're zoned R1. And then on the west side of my property, they're zoned agricultural. I had really good relationships with my neighbors to the north for a long time, and now I have a really good relationship with the neighbors to the west. I cannot say the same for the neighbors to the south. And to the west or to the east, we really just don't really talk. I'm a pretty private person. My family and I, we've worked in healthcare for the past 20 years. We like the country, we like the feel of it, and we really try to mind our own business. We don't have people over. I don't party, I don't drink, I don't smoke. My addiction is jiu-jitsu, Gracie Umaita, Kansas City. That's where I train. I spend my days at home with my animals, and in the evening, I go train jiu-jitsu, and I come home and take care of my animals. Just to give you background, so we have 8 dogs, and the count is correct. It's 2 Rottweilers, 3 Labs, 2 Huskies, a Cavalier King Charles. We applied for a hobby show breeder license through the Department of Agriculture a few years back because I thought that would bring me into compliance with having as many dogs as I have on our property. I did the online registration. In order to have a hobby or show breeder license, I have to show my animals. I have to go, we go to Hunt Test every year, and you have to have proof of that show. You can't just give them a receipt and say, hey, I paid for the show. So our dogs, our labs is what we mainly show, and we mainly go to shows with. They're hunting labs, and then in order for us to breed those animals, we have to have OFA clearances on their hips. So that's a special x-ray for their hips and elbows, and also for their eyes. We have to go get an optometrist to sign off on their eyes before we even breed them. That's as far as like keeping them healthy, because when you go hunting, there's a rigorous training, rigorous conditions, and if the dog is not bred for that or suited for that, you're going to hurt the animal. And so I specifically drove out to Colorado to get one of the dogs. I drove to Wichita to get another one, and I drove to Iowa to get another one. And so this is where Kindness and Valor Kennel came, was for that. Now, I'll speak on the Huskies. The Huskies, they came to us, one of them came to us via my sister. She's here today with her family, and she has a growing family, and she says, hey, I can't take care of the dog. I don't want to give it up. I don't want to give it to a shelter. Will you help me? And that's what I did. Her name is Syra. I took her in, and she's a very well-bred dog as well, AKC papers, the whole nine. She's just a wonderful dog. The other Husky is one of her daughters. We bred Syra twice. One of them her daughter is Ada, and we kept her, and that was during 2020. That was during the pandemic. So during the pandemic, we got this dog, BJ, and I'm gonna take you through the dogs here, if you don't mind. So that's the girls, my wife, and our Rottweiler, and then our two labs, which are females, and then the two Huskies, which are females as well. So those are the dogs that we're talking about. This is our old buddy BJ. He's now 12 or 13 years old. The dog is blind. The dog cannot hear. And in the winter, we let his coat grow because he's older, and it does get matted, and then we shave him in the spring. Recently, in the process of this, he got, like, we would put him out with the girls. We have and this is pertaining to the permit, we have around our perimeter, underground electric fence on all our dogs, except for the Rottweilers, because we know that that's a danger to leave that type of dog just on an electric collar. So our Rottweiler's on a lead at the 1,200-pound test, and then we have big anchors on the ground, which are like they use for RVs and homes, and then we put them down, and then we connect them, and then I have 2 clips that I put on the dogs, and just being honest here, we first got these the Rottweilers in 2018, 2019, and we got them not for my safety. I got them because people were coming onto our property that weren't allowed, they weren't welcome into our property. Our neighbor to the north has some animals, and they would go and try to mess with their animals. And then there's other, I'm not here to disparage anyone, but there's other people that we just didn't want on our property because I didn't feel that it was good for my family. My daughter and my wife, they would be in the back, and the Rottweilers were the choice because the other dogs would just lick people to keep people away from our property coming off of Plattsburgh. We did have one incident where one of the Rottweilers did get loose when I first got the Rottweiler. The person's here, and I want to apologize to Lori for that incident. Lori, I'm really sorry that, I know that.
You need to direct your comments to the board, please.
Sorry. I just want to formally apologize to her because after that, my relationship with my neighbor to the south changed drastically. I'm just going to be open and honest about it. He was a great neighbor for a long time, and like I never had any problems with him, you know. And after that, there were some things that were said and then some behaviors that I didn't appreciate. And out of respect for him and his family, I just retracted my friendship with this person. And that's where, like, I think a lot of the problems started happening with the whole thing, to speak on the variance. So then I had the dogs with the underground fence, and it was pretty close to the road. You know, I'd say maybe 30 feet to the road where the dogs would come up, the ones that are on the electric collar. And they would come up, so I moved the fence back so the dogs can't go like past the driveway. And there's a picture in the maps where the dogs all are on their electric collars. As far as noise goes, like all the dogs have bark collars. We make sure that they have bark collars. Yes, sometimes those bark collars lose charge, and that's how we know to charge it, or I do a rotation on the bark collars. So we're talking about noise and how this can affect public. So that's that. I did also get an LLC for my dog business, which is Kindness and Valor Kennel. And my dad, he's here present today, and he would always tell me that being kind doesn't take away valor. Being kind to someone doesn't make you less of a man. And this is what I was trying to do in this situation. I was just trying to not have a confrontation. And I do apologize if I've caused a lot of heartache to them, but that was not my intention. So I'm on 3 acres. I've also, because I do know that my neighbors to the south, they like to sit on their deck all the time, and they like to have friends over, and which is, from what I'm seeing, is the people that are over there most of the time with them. When I do see that, I try to bring the dogs in so they don't bark or disturb them. I also put 22 Tusha Green Giants in the front, planted it about 2 years ago. So this wasn't just because I got a variance. It was because I was trying to do the right thing. Most of our dogs are always indoor. Like we come home and we let them out and they play around, and then we bring them in. If we hear noise, we bring them in. The Rottweilers, the female, she doesn't like to be out. The male, he's out there a lot. You know, when it gets too hot, we bring him in. When it gets too cold, we bring him in. But that's his role. Like, he lets us know when someone's present, and especially when my daughter and my wife are in the back. That's one of the things that has really helped, like, decrease traffic within our property. Again, for this variance, I'm not asking to build a kennel. I'm not asking to build a building. All I'm simply asking is that, per the code, that I am allowed to keep my dogs. That's all I'm asking. I'm not asking for anything else. Again, I do apologize to my neighbors that I've caused heartache to. And there's people here that are watching me that I feel it's important that I could have easily gotten these dogs and taken them to a shelter or dumped them. I could have done that. But it's not the right thing to do. It's not the right thing because those animals have grown up with us. They lived with us for a long time. And even though it's uncomfortable, this is a public meeting. I have to have people that are opposing me. I have people that are supporting me. I have to speak up, and I have to do the right thing for what I feel God's put in my heart to do. And it might not be to the agreement of others, but I have to do that. I think I addressed, we don't leave our dogs out at night. We bring them, we typically try to bring them in by 10 o'clock p.m. They go out there, and then we bring them in. The Rottweiler does at times stay out at night. We have problems with coyotes. We have chickens. We have geese. And he's very good at, like, keeping things at bay. We had an incident where a couple of coyotes were trying to bait our lab to come out, and I held the lab back. And then when I held the lab back, the coyotes ran across the yard, and I was like, man. So that has also helped with the type of dogs that we have. As far as the variance, it is unique because I'm zoned R1. If the variance is not granted or permitted, I will abide what you guys say, you know. I have to respect what you guys say. So that would mean I'd have to find a home for 5 other animals. I'm very thankful for this opportunity to speak and to talk to the Planning and Zoning Commission. They educated me on a lot of things that I didn't know. I will say this, I believe that because of what's happened in the past 6 years, I was a young man, and I feel like I've become a better person, a better man, a better neighbor because of the ongoing, whatever you want to call it, that's been going on. As I talked to Kip, Mr. Jones, and Mr. Spears, to meet the other condition was that it would not affect the planning and zoning future plans. And that's where I'm at with that. And then on the fencing, on the north side, there's two physical fences. On the east side, there's like I want to say 300 feet of big 50, 60-foot trees. On the west side, it's Plattsburgh Road, and on the north side, there is just the electrical barrier, the underground electrical barrier. So I just want to leave off with this. The day that I heard about this is like in March. I believe they told me that the neighbors, had complained about the animals, and I really didn't know if I wanted to go through with this. And I was praying about the situation, and this is, and I've been waiting for this opportunity to do this publicly and apologize to Lori for that incident that happened, because she didn't deserve to go through that, and I sincerely apologize to her. So this is, as I was reading this, I got a call from Planning and Zoning, so I just would like to share this. Tell us when all this will happen. What signs will you show us these things are about to be fulfilled? Jesus replied, don't let anyone mislead you, for many will come in my name, claiming I'm the Messiah. They will deceive many, and you'll hear of wars and threats of wars, but don't panic. Yes, these things must take place, but the end won't follow immediately. Nation will go to war against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be earthquakes in many parts of the world, as well as famines. But this is the first of the birth pains, with more to come. When these things begin to happen, watch out. You'll be handed over to local councils and beaten in synagogues. You will stand trial before governors and kings, because you are my followers. But this will be your opportunity to tell them about me. For the good news must first be preached to all nations. But when you're arrested and stand trial, don't worry in advance about what to say. Just say what God tells you at the time. For it is not you who will be speaking, but the Holy Spirit. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there questions from the commission?
So, Mr. Vargas, nobody loves their animals more than I do, believe me. But I've always cautioned about how many I had,
Right.
so didn't get too wild. And I live on a big acreage. The only thing that would scare me, I look at this little house over to as I'm facing this.
Sure.
I look at the house over to your right. I look at the house above you, I guess that's north, maybe south, that'd be south, I guess. But they're so close. And I can tell you, were I to live in one of those houses, I'd be scared out of my mind that there were Rottweilers, whether you have an electric fence, because we all know a dog isn't still an animal. As much as we love
Sure.
them, they're an animal. And if they see something they're going to go after, they could go after it. Heck with the electric or whatever. Is there any reason that you do not put a really high fence around that where your dogs are inside, they cannot harm anybody, get out, nobody can bother them, you know?
Yes,
It
ma'am.
would just, it just surprises me with Rottweilers. Gosh
Right.
darn, I'm scared of those dogs.
Sure.
And even a lab can be a little aggressive. I would think that would be to your benefit and your animals' benefit, to have that high fence. They can run free and they can't hurt anybody. Is there a reason why you haven't fenced it?
Yes, there are kind of several reasons. So just to speak on the Rottweilers are never loose in the yard. They're not on their electric fence. They're put on a lead, like a 50, 30-foot lead, and they are never loose in the yard, ever. Like that, those Rottweilers, we had a Rottweiler before that, and he was on an electric fence, and there was some commotion going at the neighbors, and he took off, and he got hit by a car.
Yeah, see.
And I'm just being very transparent here. So we learned from that incident that we could not keep these dogs under electric.
Yeah.
So I did try to get a fence back in 2020, but lumber prices went crazy.
But what?
Lumber prices went sky high.
Well,
And then unfortunately, after that, my father-in-law had cancer, and so we had to take care of him. And then my mother-in-law, she had dementia, Alzheimer's. So then when we were busy with that, and then my father-in-law passed away. And then when I went to celebrate my father-in-law's birthday, I found my brother-in-law had passed away, and I was the one that found him. So those are the reasons why I just haven't had my head right. And we didn't have the money, to be really honest with you.
And that, things like that happen, I get it. And it does take a toll on us emotionally. The only thing, I just can't say strongly enough, if I lived in that house,
Yes,
I would be scared. I don't care if they're chained.
Sure.
I'd be scared to go out of my door as long as those dogs were out.
Sure.
And like you talk about the dog getting away and getting hit, my gosh, that would break my heart. That's why I feel for their safety, you know, you could get some kind of fence up.
sure.
We've got around each of our paddocks attached to the stalls, we've got darn cheap stuff. It's just big, heavy cattle panels that you can buy at Orscheln, and they're not expensive. The thing that's expensive, of course, are those wooden posts
Right.
or metal posts. But I think you could get an enclosure put up to protect the animals and
Yes.
protect your neighbors. That, you know, we had a friend who was going door to door campaigning, and the people had a pit bull in the house. The pit bull came past the woman at the door, knocked her out of the way, and attacked this lady. And this woman has been months in horrible pain, many operations, all because the dog wasn't controlled. And so, for your benefit, because how much is it going to be? That dog gets out and hurts somebody, and they sue your Fanny. You're going to be paying a heck of a lot more in legal fees and everything else than you would to put up a fence.
Yes.
So I'm just saying, for your own benefit, I think that's the biggest thing that you ought to be doing. Having the large number of dogs, I think on 3 acres, that's not an easy thing to do.
Right.
You know, and they need to be out. They're big dogs. They
Yeah.
shouldn't be locked in the house.
Well, the dogs are out on the 3-acre
Right.
perimeter. And just to let you know, I did, we have the money now. Things have slowed down, and I did talk to Mr. Jones about this, and I mean, the thing is, let's just wait to see what happens with this variance before I invest that kind of money into a dog fence.
Yeah.
So that is something that is in the works as well. So thank you for your suggestion.
I just have a couple. As I understand it, Mr. Vargas, from well, first of all, let me also say, sorry for the loss in your family. And appreciate you being here this evening. So you are a hobby or show breeder according to the Missouri Department of Agriculture.
That's correct.
What does that mean as far as the breeding that you do? And I recall from reading that a couple of your animals you've bred a couple of times. Some are too old for that. And I guess where I'm going is my fear that today there are 8 individual dogs on the premises. But when I hear that there is breeding, well, that implies that that changes from time to time. So if you could explain how that part of the business works, if you will?
That's no problem. So we now just breed the labs. The other dogs are too old to be bred. So the labs, I only breed them once a year. Like sometimes, like I have a chocolate lab, and she's 4 years old, and I haven't bred her yet because she doesn't have the titles that she needs to, like, you know, get as much money for the puppies, being honest, to get recognition. And that we've bred our black lab. We've bred her twice, and she's 5 right now. So what that looks like is they're born. We keep them inside our house. We have nice big pens where they can, you know, birth their puppies, raise their puppies. In about 6 weeks, we take them to the veterinarian. Well, let me back up. When they're born, you have to take them to the vet within 3 days to get their dew claws removed. So that's their first like vet check within 3 days of being born. After they're born, we do that, and then at 6 weeks we take them for their first set of shots to get dewormed, they get health tested, they get checked out, and then about 8 weeks is when we post them, because that's what ethically you should be not getting them rehome unless they're 8 weeks old, because it has to do with socialization, making sure that they are good fit with other families dogs. So when that does occur, we do have people come to the house and they see where we're at. They meet the parents, they meet the dogs, and then you know, we give them their papers, their puppy packets, you know, make sure they have their registration and everything up to date, and then that's it. Right now, like I said, and you guys, back to the show hobby breeder, there's a limit on how many dogs you can have. You can only have up to 10. But like being honest, like we're good. We don't need any more animals right now. We want to just let these guys live their lives out, and that's it. You know, like I said, I work in healthcare. My wife also works in healthcare, so it's not something that we do just to make income. It's something that we love to do. My nieces and nephews, they're involved in it, training the dogs, going to shows, all these other things. My daughter is in 4-H, so it's all part of that. And then in the evening, again, I go and I teach Gracie Jiu-Jitsu at Gracie Maite, Kansas City, and I teach kids classes, adult classes. So I know that I'm limited, and then the burden doesn't just fall on me, but it falls also on my wife and on my daughter. So as my daughter's getting older, I understand that, you know, it's not going to be like it used to be.
Sure. Thank you. My other question is probably either for you, Mr. Jones, or for the county councilor, as far as the registration from the Department of Agriculture. Does that have any bearing as far as the purview of the county, or is it silent on that? Or
So no, so when this case came up, we met with the assistant county councilor because there were two directions to go with this: the kennel direction or just the variance to the number of animals. And as Mr. Vargas just stated, we felt that his breeding fell within the once annual breeding, and which if the new puppies don't count until they're 6 months of age or older. So if he does breed, those puppies would have to be gone by the time they're 6 months. But so at this point, we're not considering it a kennel. If we did, we would go through that kennel code and go through that. But at this property, he could not meet the kennel code because of setback to residential zoning. There's a bunch of issues there.
Sure. So from your perspective, it is just the fact that there are 8 dogs on property.
There's
The
too
rest
many
of them-
dogs, and
Right.
if we would find out that they're breeding more than that once allowed, then that's a different code violation that we would deal with separately.
Very good, thank you. No further questions from, okay.
One last thing, I'm sorry.
No, it's quite
I
all right,
didn't
go
get to, I got carried away here. I just wanted to show you the dogs here.
Sure.
So that's Ada, that's the other husky. And she takes care of the moles in the front yard and in the back. This is Syra. This is the one dog that we got from my sister, Ada's mom. And then this is Carly. Some of these dogs here aren't no longer with us. And then these are my nephews with BJ. He's 13 or 12. And then this is Cal. And then this is Cal. This is our hunting dog and show dog, one of them. And he just got his junior hunter title this spring. And that's what he got, and that's when we picked him up in Colorado. And then these are the dogs that I said are very loyal. They take care of our property. They make sure that people that are not wanted don't come on the property. That's my wife, and that's the male Rottweiler. Just to note, the male Rottweiler is fixed. The female Rottweiler, we don't breed Rottweilers anymore. That's done. She's 10 years old. And then that's Cal. And then this is the ducks that we use for the training with the animals. And that's learning from the old man. And then right there is Cal again with our older lab. He passed away. He's no longer with us. And then I think this is an important point. These were the first dogs that I ever owned in this country. I had a friend that was a veterinarian, and he gave this dog to me. I didn't speak very good English, and the one thing that I could come home to were these dogs, and that's how I feel about the ones that I have now, you know. So that's it.
Very good. Thank you very much. At this time, I will invite public comment related to this case, and maybe to give it some order. Why don't we start with those who are in support of the application under 24-102 BZA. If you'd like to speak in support of Mr. Vargas's application, just come on forward, knock Mr. Spies out of the way, and and then just introduce yourself. Let us know who you are.
My name's Ann Medley. I live at 13910 Plattsburgh Road, so right across the street from the Vargases. And we've lived there for 8 years. We have nothing but good experiences with them. I know the Rottweilers are out. They kind of chase my car. When I drive down the road, I'm not afraid of them. I've unfortunately had to run through the Vargases' yard too many times chasing my own dogs. And so I'm familiar with their property and the care of their dogs, which has always been excellent. They're nice neighbors. They've looked in on us, helped us with our dog that my husband and I have been volunteering in rescue for about 30 years. And so we have more dogs than we ever could have planned to or wanted. We have 5 right now. But we took in one that was being kept out in this, when we had that really cold weather a couple years ago. And she has spent all of her time, she got homed and then returned, but, escaping into our neighbors' yards. And we are so grateful that we have neighbors that have been tolerant, and no one's more tolerant than Carlos. He has come to our house at 10 o'clock at night because our dog's hanging out at his house, and, we didn't even know. So I just kind of want to say that I have never heard them bark at night. I think they're amazing neighbors. They have looked after us. They've looked after our elderly neighbors to the south of us. They given me training tips on keeping our own dogs in our yard. they're just really nice people, and we haven't heard their dogs at night. We are out enough at night where I think that we would if they were any kind of disturbance. I can see where people are afraid of Rottweilers, but I think that's kind of a prejudice. Same with pit bulls. I mean, there's bad dogs in every breed, and the bigger they are, the scarier they are. But the Rottweilers have never been a problem for us. I don't know what else I can say. They just have been really terrific neighbors, and I hate that this is happening to them. And I would like to point out that a lot of these dogs are older. They would not be rehomed easily. There are no room in any of the shelters because all we do is try to find homes for neglected animals. And the shelters are full. There is nowhere for them to go. So even if this variance is to let the dogs live out their lives, and again, to the fence idea, if there could be a small enclosure for the Rottweilers, if that's what's scaring people, then, I mean, maybe that's a reasonable, thing to have. But I would just hate for anyone to take his animals away from him. Our animals are our family too, so we get it. And I just, I feel like this is a little bit unfair. I get there's laws and rules, but when you get involved with rescuing animals, everybody's at your door and can you help with this one and can you take that one? And you say yes, because there isn't anywhere else to go. So I don't really have anything else to say. If you have any questions for me.
Are there any questions?
Okay.
No, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of the applicant? Good evening.
Hi, I'm Dina Trader, and I actually for 14 years lived on the north side that you spoke about. Those dogs, I have goats, I have donkeys, horses. Those dogs were never a threat to any of my animals. I wasn't afraid of them coming over the fence and harming my animals. And we had a gate in between our fence. I would come walk through their backyard and the Rottweiler would be right there, and the dog, I mean, I was not afraid of him, and I understand some people are, but I was never afraid. And Carlos, anytime I have a problem with my animals, I mean, he drops everything and comes out and helps me. And they treat their dogs like their family. So if you take their dogs, it's like taking a piece of their family with them. And I know some people might not understand that, and I understand some people are scared of the dogs, but these people are one of a kind, and I've never seen anybody care for their dogs like I see them. So that's
Okay.
all I want.
Any questions? No? Thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to speak on behalf of the applicant? Come on forward, sir.
Good evening. My name is Michael Graber. I am known Carlos and his family for the last over 11 years. We're also entrepreneurs. I'm the owner of the Jiu-Jitsu Academy which he teaches at. I'm just really here to speak on the character of Carlos and his family, and also being a Rottweiler owner and a big dog owner and understanding, the issues that come with that, and trying to maintain your dogs. It's something that if you're 99% good at and 1% they get out, it could be devastating, as we pointed out. But again, just kind of to speak on Carlos' character, he's someone who's dedicated a lot of his life into our jiu-jitsu program for the kids. And it's just something I want to point out because he doesn't ask for anything. The only thing that he asked of for our program is that we'd be the cheapest place in the city for kids to take their kids, because like myself and him, we didn't have a place to go. We didn't have the money to be able to get trained like this. So Carlos came up with this plan, and for the last 10 years, he's been the coach to hundreds of kids. And he's amazing as an instructor, and again with his dogs too, because I think they parallel each other as well. And he's more than a friend. He's more than a brother. He's my confidant. And he shared a lot of things with me, which again, I haven't heard firsthand, so I'm not going to say them, but which appall me to some of the treatment that he's got from the people around this area. It really is distressed to hear things being, some abuse, verbal, ethnicity things about
Carlos. So in my heart, I kind of feel like there's a little vindictiveness going on, and it's more than just the ordinance. I don't think the dogs are a problem as much as it's being said, and I just think I'm just here to stand with my brother here and for him to keep his family together.
All right, thank you. Any questions? No. Thank you very much, appreciate it. Last call for those who are in support of tonight's case. Okay, go right ahead. If there is anyone else who also wants to, please feel free to just get in line behind this gentleman. Yes, sir.
My name is Joshua Barnett, and I'll be very quick. So I grew up in Kearney and live in Liberty, and Coach Carlos coaches my boys in jiu-jitsu. So while I'm not specifically involved in as a neighbor, I just thought I'd like to talk about the safety aspect that he teaches kids how to protect themselves every day, teaches them from bad situations, how to look out for people that may not have their best interest at heart. And I know that that doesn't just carry over to jiu-jitsu. I'm sure he would treat his family and his neighbors the same way. And then the other thing I just like to say is there's been some talk about Rottweilers. My understanding is there's no limit in Kearney on those type of dogs. So it seems like the issue is more number of dogs, and the rule's 3, and I think all of us probably have met people that have more than 3. So I just wonder if everybody's willing to take everybody's dogs that have more than 3. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? All right, hearing none, then for those who may be here in opposition of the variance request, this is your time. If anyone wishes to speak in opposition to 24-102 BZA. Yes, sir. Please introduce yourself. And go right ahead.
My name is Terry Barnes, my wife Lori. I'm the scaredy cat that lives in the house south of Carlos. I've known Carlos probably as long as any of the neighbors here, 15 years maybe. And he was right. Nice people, great people, with too many dogs. This all started back 5 years ago, maybe. Carlos told me that they had to pay some taxes, income taxes. He was going to have to find something to live off the land. Talking about getting these Rottweilers. I said,
well, guys,
it's
this
not
is
a
his
good
time.
thing.
So, yeah, go right ahead, sir.
So he said, what do you think neighbors say? And I said, well, be all right until somebody calls. And it happened. Here we are. And it just keeps snowballing. So I'm thinking, I don't know what he got sent letter-wise. I don't have a clue what's in that letter, but I'm figuring if he's granted a variance, then the sky's the limit. But I want to say, they're nice people. I'm not going to take that away from them. But the dog situation, and the dog situation just out of hand. And does the old subdivision regulation still apply to anything?
So if you have an HOA and...
we don't have an HOA.
Okay.
The HOA went away before Carlos got there.
I see. So, Kip, do you want to address that?
Yeah, the county does not enforce any HOA regulations or subdivision regulations.
Right.
Well, I didn't know. It's just like the streets, you know, the subdivision takes care of them for 10 years or whatever, and then the county takes it over.
Right, but in the case of, I think what Kip would say, and I'll invite the county councilor to correct anything I say, the covenants that the owners agree to as part of the HOA would then stipulate what is allowed and what is not. And if there is an issue that one of the homeowners within that HOA has, then it is up to the HOA to enforce its own covenants. That's generally how it works. Have I got that pretty well?
Correct,
Okay.
yes.
So that would not be, the county would not enforce the rules of the HOA. That is up to the HOA to do that itself.
Yeah, and there's
Yeah.
not one, like I say.
And if there
so-
isn't one, then, yeah, the county would not,
You're on
would
your
not
own.
interfere. Yes.
Yes.
I have a question.
And as far as these Rottweilers never off the chain, that's correct. They lead them out there. But when a lady come walking down the road with her dog and that dog sees it, I watched it pull Lisa down to her knees. You know, that's when I started keeping a weapon at each door now. So locked and loaded, I might add. And I am scared to death of those dogs. I'll be the first one to tell you. It's a safety issue up there. I mean, there'll be a court hearing sometime. It's not if, it's when it happens. Because it's gotten off before. It took my wife from the mailbox to the front door. And on the covenants of the old subdivision, and I'd sent Carlos a text several years ago saying, hey man, you're not on the 35 acres behind you, you're in a subdivision, you know, when he comes home with a goat and whatnot. It sounds sometimes of an evening like the dinosaur show. Jurassic Park. And when I called and Kemp sent me a guy out, I had conversations with him for 10 months. And then he leaves. And he says, now you can get a hold of my boss, Kip, which I did. And Kip's answer to me was, he didn't ever see but 5 dogs. Ray Charles could have seen more than that. So when I called recently, he sends me another fella out, and he took some pictures and stuff, which I'm sure you all have, which I've got to load too, but I'm not set up to show them.
Sure.
But my place would be for sale if the variance is granted, if anybody's looking for a spot next to them. I appreciate the time. I'm sorry it come to this, because they are nice people. I'm not taking that away one bit. I know his mom and dad, and I knew her folks too. I mean, we've been there for a while, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I've been there 30 years, but thank you.
No, understood, and thank you very much. I think we have a question for
I
you,
have a
sir.
question for you.
Come back to the microphone, Commissioner.
Yes,
Paulson.
ma'am.
Yeah, the only thing I was going to say, if Carlos had a fence around there, a high fence, would you feel more secure?
Well, sure I would, but that's never happened. I mean,
No, but I'm
he's had
saying-
buku time to do that.
I know, but if he did,
That costs too much money.
I know it does cost money, but like we said, what's it going to cost if he hurt your wife and you
I'll be
guys
at every
sued
court
him,
hearing.
You know?
Because it's going to
So,
happen.
It could,
And I told Kemp, same thing.
yeah.
You know, it's not
I
if,
think-
it's when.
Yeah, and as far as like, there's not a lot, you say there is a lot of noise?
Oh, heavens, yes.
Okay, and then, so when I'm looking at his house, when I'm on 139th Street.
You're
if I'm
standing in
getting-
my driveway.
You're over to his right.
No, I'm to his south. You're standing in my driveway looking at his house.
Oh, okay, I see where you are. Okay, thank you. All right, and you're in very close proximity.
Very
So I
close.
see where you're coming from. Okay, well, I appreciate your coming, and I appreciate, your concern.
I appreciate you all.
All right, thank you very much. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in opposition to this application? Yes, ma'am.
I'm Lori Barnes, and yeah, we welcomed Carlos's family to our neighborhood when they moved here. And we were friends, but this dog situation had just gotten completely out of control. We couldn't walk out of our house, or anybody else couldn't come to our house if his dogs were out. It was such a racket you couldn't imagine. But when this particular thing happened with the Rottweiler, that wasn't the first time that there was problems with his dog. He was talking about the other one that he had that ended up getting run over. Well, that one got loose one time and chased a little girl, which lived on the other side of us, on her bicycle through our yard. And, fortunately, she got away from him. It's just, they have been dangerous dogs, in my opinion. And, but the main thing is, rules are not made to be broken. And when they moved there, they should have investigated that, how many dogs you can have, and that kind of stuff. And I'm not holding anything against the fact that, yes, they're nice people, but rules are rules. This is a residential subdivision. It's not a place to have a dog kennel. I don't know what else I can say. If he wants to have a dog kennel, they need to go buy a big acreage and take precautions of fencing it in. And no, I am not going to sell my house because of it. We were there first.
Any questions of?
Nope.
Nope. All right. Thank you very much. Good evening.
Good evening. How you doing? Thank you for your time. My name is Steve Jurgens. I live at 13611 Northeast 138th Street, just a few blocks down from the property in question. And I know there's a lot of emotion involved in this stuff. I got neighbors too, love them very much. But all I can think of is, a covenant for 3 dogs is there for a reason. 3 dogs, it protects the interest of the property owners, protects the public, protects the public safety, protects property values, because I know I wouldn't want to buy a property next to 8 dogs. I mean, bottom line, I'd be worried about it, especially if I had kids. So my deal is I know that once we set this precedence, that if I got 8 dogs next to me, I'm gonna have problems fixing this. So I live in this neighborhood, like Lori said. This is Twin Lakes subdivision. Mr. Vargas is part of Twin Lakes subdivision, not the other 2 ladies that was here. They live on a 40-acre tract and a 10-acre tract. Big difference, being 300 feet from somebody. So, I'm not here to question Mr. Vargas's integrity. Probably a nice guy, don't know him, never met him before in my life. I drive by this place every day. I see this dog on a chain. I think to myself, I can see problems just watching it, So it's never affected me personally, but if he lived next door to me, I'd be right here just like Mr. Barnes. So like I said, don't want to get too emotional about this. I just want to be real factual. I think that we should hold up to the codes that are there. They're there for a reason. They've served us since the year 2000, probably a lot longer than that. I've been in this place for 25 years. Never seen anybody have this kind of issues. I sure don't want a dog kennel next to me. I sure don't want to set the precedence for a dog kennel either. Like I said, it has nothing to do with Mr. Vargas, has everything to do with my property values, my sanity, my kids, my grandkids. So, and I thank you very much for your time. You got any questions for me?
Thank you. Any questions from commissioners?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Yes, ma'am. Welcome.
My name is Gina McLean. I live 2 lots down from Terry Barnes on that side of the street, on the south side. My issue is with the care that they are providing for these dogs. I know he said that they leave the Rottweilers out for coyotes and for people that are not wanted on in his neighborhood, in his yard, apparently. I've never had an issue with anybody coming through my yard, ever. But those Rottweilers are out when it's 100 degrees out. They're out when it is 17 degrees below zero. I actually wrote him a note and put it in his mailbox a few years ago because it was 17 degrees below zero, and those Rottweilers were on chains in a yard with, one of them had an igloo type kennel doghouse, and the other one has the type of kennel that you use for transporting a dog. It is no kind of shelter at all. The chains are short chains. These are huge dogs. I used to walk down to the end of the street and back with one of my little dogs, and I'd say hi to Terry and Lori, and I quit walking down there after Lori got attacked by that Rottweiler. I'm 70 years old. There's no way I could outrun a Rottweiler. I couldn't outrun a lab. I probably couldn't outrun any kind of a dog. And I love dogs. I have 3 dogs. I foster dogs. And I don't have a problem with the fact that you want to have dogs. My issue has always been the care of those dogs. They do not take care of them. And I know some of you have commented on how nice he is. About 11 years ago, he actually helped my husband decide to go to a trade school. And I, at that time, really didn't know them. I had gone down and introduced myself to them when they moved in, but that was about it. They're a couple houses down. But after I wrote that note and put it in his mailbox, twice now, when I've driven by, when he's been outside, he gives me the finger. And I just am like, okay, I guess they must have had cameras or something. They knew it was me that put the...
And Chairman, if you don't mind, I think we just need to get back to the topic, which is the
Well,
number of dogs.
it's the care of their animals. That's what I'm against, the care of their animals. And I also, it's the entrance to our subdivision. It is a residential subdivision. Everybody's got 3 acres. That's a normal size yard for our neighborhood. And 8 dogs is too many. It's just too many.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? No, thank you. So just as a reminder to everyone, this commission only worries about what's up here. And I understand that there are maybe other things out there, but, and I understand this is a hot topic and everyone's got history. But for us, we are only going to be concerned with what affects these criteria above me and above you over there. Having said that, is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Everyone gets their chance, and I know Ms. Vargas wants to speak, and I will give her that opportunity. If it is something that is pertinent to these criteria, this commission would love to hear it. If it is not, then I will politely decline. But if it speaks to that, please come right ahead. But I need you to have you in front of the yeah, come on up here. You know what I'm looking for, so if you could speak to that, that'd be great.
Again, Steve Jurgens, just coming back to readdress the committee here. I really wanted to address kind of what Joanne Lawson had to say earlier about a fence. You know, like that would be a fix for an issue with these covenants, and absolutely not. It would not be a fix, because you still got the same problem with, like I stated earlier, in the original statement. You got property interest. You have safety issues still. Dogs still get out. Also, the noise. Always got noise issues, which is part of the reason why we have a 3-dog limit. And then I'd also like to address the fact that we talked about dog breeds has 0 to do with this covenant. Doesn't matter if it's a Rottweiler or a Chihuahua. You know, 3 dogs is there because 3 dogs won't be a nuisance to their neighbors. 8 dogs, if they're Chihuahuas, is going to be a nuisance to their neighbors. So that's all I have to say about it. I didn't say it earlier. I kind of got off track. Sorry about that. Any other?
Any questions from the commission?
No.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right, is there anyone else who wishes to speak in opposition to the variance request? Okay, if not, and I know Mrs. Vargas wanted to speak, but again, I will also just point out again, some of the things that have been brought out is immaterial to this commission. We are focused on those criteria. If you wish to speak to that, you are welcome to do so. Or Mr. Vargas, if you, okay. Go right ahead.
First, I want to thank everybody. I understand what you're saying, Terry. I understand what you're saying, Lori. I understand what the neighbors are saying. I'm just going to speak the truth. My Rottweiler got out and it scared Lori. It did. And I am truly sorry about that. That's not right. She shouldn't have had to gone through that. My dog did not attack her. I just want to clarify that. And number two,
Yep.
just to the, and because this is important because there's kids watching here. And I tell them about, like my dad said, kindness does not take away valor. And they're talking about my character. And I not once flipped this woman off. I did not. I don't even, I know you put that
Just
letter.
speak to us.
I know she put that letter in there because we have cameras all over our house. I did not flip her off. And I just want to put that on the record. I did not do that. And I appreciate you guys' time. And I appreciate what they're saying. And just thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Okay, I think that closes our public testimony related to this case. I will remind everyone once again that we do not, within our purview, worry about whose story is right or wrong. I find many times in life there's a story here and a story there, and there is truth in between. But we are not here tonight to discern that. What we are here to do is to discern whether or not to move forward with a variance of some kind. And I appreciate all of you who have come here this evening to share your stories with us so that we can hopefully come to a conclusion that makes sense in the public interest. Mr. Jones, you look like you're about to say something.
No staff comments unless you have questions for us.
Okay, very good. Then I will see if there are any questions from commissioners. Commissioner Lawson.
Yeah, when I look at this, I understand the emotional attachment to our animals. Nobody's a bigger baby about their animals than me. But I think that when we look at this criteria, we have to look at something that one gentleman said, and it's really a big deal. We all take real good care of our property. And I always pride myself in doing that because when they sold the property, the 70 acres across the road from me, I knew that when those people came to look at that property, they said, "Oh, pretty nice place across the road," you know? And I think we all take pride in the way our place looks. And I think when, say this gentleman is going to sell his house and they've got to come down that road, and if it's during the day, the dogs are out barking, they're running around, big old Rottweiler, I think that it would degrade property value, which is something we really want to watch. I think that the safety and general welfare of the people in the neighborhood has to be a top priority, and I have grave concerns that that's the way it is. We've spent one heck of a lot of time working on that darn comprehensive plan. We've had meeting after meeting, money spent on it, everything else. If we're going to put that into play, then we damn well better live by it. So with those things, I feel that for myself, I would not be able to grant the variance.
Any comments? We're past the time of public testimony. Everyone's had a chance to speak this morning. Anything from the Commissioner Cook? And you don't have
Yeah,
to.
no, I appreciate that. You know, as has been mentioned, we've got the 4 criteria to consider here, and I'll, in a moment, say where I think we're at on the 4 of them. I'll just say I have a tremendous amount of sympathy for Mr. Vargas' family, friends. I, too, am a big animal lover. And I'm very sorry that you find yourself in a situation in which you face the prospect of not being able to stay at the current residence and also potentially, keep all your animals who are family, and I understand that. And so I hate that we have to do this today, but this is where we're at, which is that it's incumbent on all of us to know the law. Sometimes, the law books are big. Sometimes laws are awfully obscure, this is one where I think most people know that you can't have 8 dogs, unless you're out on a farm or something. Particularly somebody who's got an LLC for a dog breeding business. So I do think that this was, I wish that this could have been avoided because it sounds like a heartbreaking situation. As it pertains to the 4 criteria, I think there's perhaps a case to be made on the third one, but on the first, second, and fourth, I think it's pretty clear that the code says what it says. If we're gonna obviously open the door here to going from 3 to 8, there are 250,000 people who live in this county, tens of thousands in unincorporated Clay County. And the only way I would feel right about that would be if everybody then got to have 8 dogs. And I think that's opening a can of worms that we ought not open. So I'm going to be aligning myself with Commissioner Lawson's perspective on this and supporting tonight.
Well, in that case, then I will ask, if I understand what I just heard from both my colleagues, Mr. Jones, the proper motion would be to either pass with a check, with the box mark, denial, or simply a motion to deny.
So I think the preference, we don't have a box to check deny, so our preference would be to, if that's the route the board wants to go, is just make a motion to deny the variance request.
Very well. I invite either of my colleagues to make such a motion. Commissioner Carpenter.
Make the motion that we deny 24-102 BZA.
Is there a second?
I second.
It has been moved and seconded to deny case number 24-102 BZA. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none.
Ask a question.
Unfortunately, at this point.
Not a statement, just a question.
I'll talk to you after the meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll have that opportunity, but
Okay.
not right now. Okay. Mr. Jones, will you call the roll?
John Carpenter.
Yes.
Joanne Lawson.
No. I mean, yes. I'm sorry.
A yes is to support the motion.
Yes to support the motion.
And the motion is to deny.
Yes.
And Scott Wagner. So the motion carries, the variance is denied.
The variance has been denied. So, again, I think, as you've heard, and I will voice that this is not an easy decision to come to. You understand what these dogs mean to you and your family. But hopefully, from the comments made, you also understand why we're going to do that. If you have any further questions, I invite you to speak with Mr. Jones after we are finished, which will be very, very soon. With that, we are now on to other business director comments.
I just have one quick comment that we do not have a meeting next month, and we'll be in touch once we get another application.